While most people can hear a simple suggestion, nod, and move on with their day, there is a specific group of people who treat a tiny piece of criticism like a life or death gladiator match. You know the type. You offer a small correction, and suddenly they're rewriting history, attacking your character, or playing the victim. But while it's easy to write them off as arrogant or difficult, there's a massive group of psychologists who argue something else entirely is going on. And according to neuroscience, their brains might actually be processing your words as a physical threat to their survival. Stay with me, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change how you navigate the most difficult conversations in your life. Here's the thing nobody talks about when it comes to defensiveness. We usually assume people get defensive because they have a massive ego. We think they're too full of themselves to admit they're wrong. But here's where it gets interesting. Research from social psychology suggests the exact opposite is true. That wall of arrogance isn't strength. It's a panic room. When a psychologically secure person hears you made a mistake, their brain processes it as data. It's information about an action they took. But for the chronically defensive, that same sentence triggers the amygdala, the ancient part of the brain responsible for fear, and it bypasses the logic center entirely. Translation, their brain isn't hearing "fix this typo." It's hearing "you are worthless and unsafe." It's about differentiation. Most of us have a psychological boundary between what we do and who we are. If you cook a bad meal, you're just a person who messed up dinner. You aren't a bad person. But for people with fragile self-esteem, that boundary doesn't exist. Every critique is an attack on their core identity. Psychologists call this the shame-rage spiral. Because they cannot tolerate the feeling of shame, which feels like a death sentence to the ego, they instantly convert that shame into rage. They attack you to protect themselves from feeling broken. That's wild, right? Their aggression is actually a desperate attempt to stabilize a crumbling self-image. They aren't fighting you. They are fighting the sudden drop in their own self-worth. But wait, it gets weirder. Once that threat response is triggered, the brain engages in what researchers call cognitive distortion. You've probably seen this in real time. It usually happens in 3 specific ways. Denial. I never said that. They literally rewrite reality to protect the ego. Whataboutism. Well, what about the time you were late? They change the venue of the argument to escape the spotlight. Victimhood. I guess I just can't do anything right. They weaponize pity to make you stop talking. And here's the kicker. They aren't doing this consciously. Their brain is frantically throwing up smokescreens because it has registered your feedback as a predator. It is a primitive defense mechanism trying to survive a social threat. Let's be honest about something else. This behavior works in the short term. If you blow up every time someone questions you, people eventually stop questioning you. You win the argument because everyone else is too exhausted to fight. But the long-term cost is isolation. By treating feedback like an attack, these individuals starve themselves of the one thing that actually builds competence: correction. They stop growing because they've built a fortress where no new information can get in. So, what does all this mean for you? When you're dealing with someone like this, realize that logic won't penetrate their panic. You aren't debating a rational adult. You are managing a frightened ego. Understanding this doesn't mean you have to tolerate abuse, but it does mean you can stop taking their explosions personally. They aren't reacting to you. They are reacting to their own internal alarms. If this resonated with you, you're probably going to love why quiet people are actually processing information completely differently than everyone else, and why that might be your biggest advantage. Click one of these videos to find out why you think a little differently than the crowd.